Now, lastly, the whole thing on the Dalai Lama sticking his tongue out. Let's not forget it was Albert Einstein on his birthday many years ago that did the very same thing. So he's up there with some of the best in the world. So it would be my message. Keep going.
His Holiness sticking his tongue out, and the other side was Joe Biden, because they hate the Americans so much. So they have been trying this for a few days. They spread that, and now they have clamped down again. So they don't. Chinese government, even after 72 years, fail to understand Tibetan people's mind.
But for a significant section of population who's not into Tibet movement, they are influenced by that clip. And therefore, rather than simply saying, oh, that was wrong, we need to counter it. We need to have to start to work to make sure that the reputation of His Holiness beyond the circle of Dharma followers and beyond the circle of Free Tibet movement is repaired. And I'm saying it repaired because
Namalenge Samalola yat some distillation issue. Taringe Lenge San Ronangel de Zen Din, Yadong Nissoxum, Dashive, Nishu in Yul Mangso Ling de Zope, Kudio, Pella, Melodunju Tuni Ring, Perto Messi Biyuki, Wangyu, Cheba Shibi, Jushi To, Dage Tetong Dulingi, Lerim Sutun Shubasi, Shamla, since Yomashu. Singing about so, Lerim de Chasang Ingenang, Himbashikredu.
Of that. Sikong Pempersering, what is your view of do you agree that Tibetans have assimilated? Do they use TikTok and Weibo and all that sort of thing? And how can you gauge what their true sense is?
Right now, Tibet is locked down, so nobody can go in, nobody can come out. Only about 10 days ago, I heard news that some people are managing to come outside the Tibet Autonomous Region. They are now inviting traders from Nepal who have been trading with Tibet. So some movement is happening, but we still have to be very careful about what China is doing. So Tibet is completely cut off in that sense. You have no access. If Tibet is, as what Chinese government says, a socialist paradise, then why you don't allow foreigners or Tibetans to go into Tibet and see for themselves the socialist paradise as China does?
Sorry to interrupt. I think the point of the question really is because we know the clampdown from China over 72 years, but what gauge do you have of the success, let's put it that way, of the Chinese Communist Party to assimilate young Tibetans into the Chinese way of life and take them away from your cause?
Now it is being forced because of the boarding schools. So students are forced to go to school, even children from age 3 to 6. We counted over the last 3 years, it has been increasing. Now it has become 150,000 Tibetans in these boarding schools from age 3 to 6. From 6 to 18 is more than 1 million. But you mentioned about TikTok, so I thought I'd take advantage of this Weibo and TikTok thing because DBH mentioned about the current issue involving His Holiness and the young Indian boy. So Chinese government wanted to use that as an instance to spread this news within the Tibetan community to create uneasiness and make them not follow His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Now, you know what happened? We received message from inside China saying that whatever the explanations may be, bad things turn into good, and we inside Tibetans can see for ourselves Dalai Lama in freedom. So this time they managed to see His Holiness, but in very weird forms. It was His Holiness sticking his tongue out, and the other side was Joe Biden, because they hate the Americans so much. So they have been trying this. For a few days, they spread that, and now they have clamped down again. So Chinese government, even after 72 years, failed to understand Tibetan people's mind. So that is I have always been saying, Chinese government need to understand Tibetan aspiration, and all they need is common sense in their head. So we need to do some surgery and put common sense in the Chinese leadership's mind.
I just want to go around the panel again, starting with you, and just very briefly, what is your message to the European governments that you're about to, or you're talking to at the moment? And again, you've just said, what is your message to the Chinese Communist Party to resolve this situation over Tibet? Firstly to you, Pengpeng Tsering, what are your thoughts on that?
So please don't carried away by Chinese propaganda. They are very strong. They are very pervasive. But it's as one Indian leader said, communism is built on lies. So to hide one lie, they have to tell another lie, and lies upon lies. And Chinese believe that if you repeat the lie 100 times, then the lie will also turn into truth. Now, this is not the age. Everybody is more aware. It's information technology, communication, everything has improved. So you cannot tell lie to the international community all the time. And I think the international community also need to be more discerning and don't look at only those tailored videos. If Chinese government tries to do that, please try to understand the holistic issue. Because if you don't understand the whole issue, then you may always be misdirected to take certain judgments, just like what happened during this time.
Yeah, like we heard about the golden era and the taking away of suzerainty. Martin Mills, what are your thoughts on those two? The message to the Chinese Communist Party and the message to European leaders?
Oh, that's quite a question. Message to European leaders would be the same, which it always is, I think, particularly in the cross-party group in Tibet. We did a lot of work on climate change and things on those lines. The puzzle that we face now is most politicians live within a kind of 5-year re-election cycle, and that is there now. And they always talk about what kind of Bismarck called the art of the possible in terms of that 5-year re-election cycle. I would ask and sit there and say, okay, you need to think beyond that, and it is your responsibility to think beyond that and ask the question that says, what do you want the world to be like in 20 years or 30 years or 40 years? Okay, how do we get there from where we are right now? And this is the kind of puzzle. Everyone sort of says, oh, well, these things are not possible. We can't do them. That's realpolitik. But it's usually realpolitik within a 5-year cycle, basically. The real question, and this is what we expect of our elected politicians, is actually that they look to a future and say, what does a future for example, in this case, the Tibetan cause, what should this look like, and how do we start that process right now, right here? What do we do now, rather than worrying endlessly about the present?
Okay, thank you very much. And to Chris Law, in 20 years' time, I suppose you want an independent Scotland. What is the message to the Chinese Communist Party and European leaders?
Well, I hope it'll be sooner than that, Humphrey, first of all, in 20 years. But I think the important point I would make, very simply, one is this isn't going away. What the Sekyong said is that the spirit is high amongst young people, although their experience is different. So that's really important. I think for Scotland in its own journey, we want to be a good global citizen. And to be honest, again, going back to Sekyong about working in partnership with China, whether that's successful or not, I don't know. But you do need to work in partnership with the world. And that means sharing the things that make Tibet unique, sharing the things that are going to become policy one day, things that people aspire to. I think is really important. And lastly, the whole thing on the Dalai Lama sticking his tongue out. Let's not forget it was Albert Einstein on his birthday many years ago that did the very same thing. So he's up there with some of the best in the world. So it would be my message. Keep going.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Divyesh Anand, message to the Chinese Communist Party, message to Europe.
Communist Party, be a true communist, which implies work for all human beings, treat them equally, and end the state. Remember, the whole idea of communism is end of a classless, stateless society. So end with your state, which you have, and be actually People's Republic of China rather than Party's Republic of China. That's the message of communist parties, for them to disband themselves. And for Europe, the important idea is to, with all the flaws and all the challenges which you face, let's not forget the importance of democracy and human rights. It cannot be non-universal. We have to speak for right to self-determination and democracy here, elsewhere. And just because we have got some things wrong doesn't imply we have to keep quiet about what is happening elsewhere. Therefore, it's not about selling out. It's not only about selling out to China, but it is about speaking for and supporting and being in solidarity with all occupied people, all oppressed people, in this case, Tibetans.
Thank you very much for that.